You're listening to the Why Boarding School podcast, broadcasting around the world. Join us as we promote independent boarding schools throughout the United States and Canada with our invited guests. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jeffrey Quebec.
Welcome to the Why Boarding School podcast. I'm Jeff Quebec, and today I'm joined by the Director of Admissions from Stanstead College in Stanstead, Quebec, Patrick Fraser. Welcome, Patrick. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
So I know that Stanstead has a really rich tradition dating back to 1872. It's a beautiful campus located in Stanstead, Quebec, which is right on the border of the state of Vermont. Perhaps you can start off by giving our audience a brief overview of the number of students at Stanstead College, grades you offer, where they come from, etc.
Yeah, happy to. So on a typical year, we're 280 students. That's capacity. That's kind of the target. Three ratios that we really try to keep consistent from year to year. First one is boarding today. So it is first and foremost a boarding school. We're looking to be anywhere between 75 to 80% full-time 7-day boarders. It's a co-ed school, so we try to be as close to 50-50 as possible. And finally, the ratio of domestic to international. We actually, because in part of where we are and the fact that we have probably proportionately a higher number of American students than a lot of Canadian schools, we call it domestic, Canadian and American, and international everywhere else. And we try to be around 70% Canadians, Americans, and then 30% will be made up from kids from all over the world.
Okay, great. So what's the academic curriculum like at Stanstead? Like how many classes typically do students take?
Yeah. So again, and I got to back up a bit, sorry. We actually, one of the main differences between Stanstead and maybe a typical New England school is that we start in grade 7. So we have kids as young as 12 going all the way through 12th grade.
And that's boarding too, the boarding starting in 7?
Boarding in 7, yeah. Yeah, it's a small class at that level, and you know, there's no right time to go, right? That's
Sure.
a family decision, and we'll accept a qualified student at any grade level. But we break up that group into what we call our junior school and our senior school. So in grade 7, 8, 9, the kids are taking a very broad, all-encompassing selection of courses. There's not a lot of flexibility there. And then starting in grade 10, you know, that's when they begin the college counseling process. And, you know, by the time they get to grade 12, it's really only 2 required courses, English and at least 1 branch of math. And then everything else they take is an elective that will hopefully be able to benefit them in their post-secondary studies. So the base of the curriculum is the Quebec provincial curriculum, which is really well known throughout Canada and the world in terms of the strength in math and science. And that's supplemented by AP courses. So on a typical year in the higher levels, we're going to offer 12 to 15 APs that kids can take if they're looking for advanced placement in their areas of strength.
Yeah, very nice. Is there academic support for those students who may need it?
Yeah. So the default option, I guess, for your evening study is that the kids are, you know, they have an hour and a half, 2 hours at their desks in the dorm, which is devoted study time. But I mean, at a boarding school, and I think, Jeff, that you'll hear this from a lot of people if you're going to do a series like this, like the teachers that work at these places are really, it's a lifestyle choice for them. I mean,
Yeah, very much
they pretty much will offer assistance whenever a student kind of seeks it. And it might be like, sir, miss, I'm having trouble in my science course. Are you available on Tuesday during study? Well, no, I got to be, Thursday's better, but there's all kinds of opportunities in that regard. And we do have what we call our LRC, our Learning Resource Center, for students that maybe need a little more guided study or scheduled tutoring. Again, with our split between junior and senior school, the first few months of the year with our grade 7, 8, 9s, we actually have them all study in our auditorium. So it's supervised at first, and we kind of make sure they're developing, good habits when it comes to evening study, and then we kind of wean them from there back into the or for them maybe the start of the default option, which is kind of independent study.
So, Patrick, the guided study is sort of incorporated into the curriculum throughout the day?
No, the guided study takes place during that allotted block from 7:30 to 9:30 in the evenings.
Oh, okay.
We start off the year requiring all the junior school students to participate. That's boarders and day students as well. And then as the first report card comes out, first progress report, some of the returning students might get to go, to their desks for their study period. And then hopefully by the time we get to this point in the year, November, mid-November is when, these kids are now going to be developing their time management and independence skills while they're doing their homework.
Yeah, very nice. Can
Yeah.
you tell me a little bit, Patrick, about the visual performing arts offerings at Stanstead College?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, for our junior school levels, the students they have to take art, music, drama. Those are typically 1-term classes.
Okay.
Starting in grade 10, though, they have to choose at least one to do as an elective. And then those options, visual arts in particular, is an elective for grade 11, grade 12. We do offer it at the AP level. The arts building here is actually the oldest freestanding building on campus. It was built in 1903, if I'm not mistaken. So it's got, 2 fully equipped studios, pottery, molding, shaping room, kiln, all that stuff. And yeah, the whole building and any art you see in the school, if you're ever to come for a visit or a tour, or you watch one of our videos, is all student art. So it's a great spot for some that want to do it. I don't offer like a 5-day a week arts concentration, but it is a strong subject here, and yeah. So
Yeah, very nice. Patrick, are there any special signature programs that are offered at Stanstead academically in the classroom? Any unique electives or really unique offerings?
well, like I said, we're a little bit constrained is not a good word, but the Quebec curriculum is very robust and it has a lot of requirements to it. So it is very strong in math and science. That evidence is available. Just Google search, like the
Sure.
top curriculums in Canada for that, and we're always near the top. So I would say that in grade 10, 11, when kids are able to start kind of choosing or thinking about where they're going to go with their next steps, we're always going to kind of guide kids towards that route, especially if they're unsure, right? Because it's a lot easier to go make a switch and say, I want to be a history teacher or I want to go into humanities or something, rather than to flip that and try it in grade 12 when you've missed some of the fundamentals in grade 11 or 10.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'd say math science is definitely the strength, and from our college placements from year to year, we're graduating 65, 70 kids, and engineering, hard sciences, these are year over year 2 of the most popular options for the kids.
Yeah, very nice. How about
Yeah.
sports? Is every student required to play a sport? And what are some of the athletic offerings that Stanstead has?
Yeah, so that, as a small school, I mean, I would say that we definitely place a lot of emphasis on our athletic programs, and it's reflected in our motto, right? Health, wisdom, integrity. Health is right there at the forefront. You do not have to be a fantastic athlete to come to Stanstead, or really probably any boarding school for that matter, and do well and enjoy your experience. But for us, anyways, it is required that a student participates in the fall, winter, spring. Okay. We have in each term 6 or 7 different choices: high level, varsity, competitive, sporting commitments that are going to take up some time on a weekend. And then we have more recreational, just get some exercise, have some fun type courses. So I would say that if I'm going season by season in the fall, the premier option is soccer. I would say in the winter, we're most certainly best known in the U.S. and probably outside of the immediate vicinity for the hockey program, boys and girls. Basketball is a really solid winter sport. And then when we get into the spring season, rugby is strong, lacrosse is strong. We have a really good tennis program, golf program. But there are always a lot of options for kids that choose to attend Stanstead. But at the minimum, like, they have to be a kid that's willing to participate and at least enjoy the healthy body aspect of the ethos here.
Yeah, that's great. And it sounds like there's also some nice sort of offerings for more of the casual sports participant too.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the fall, I don't know if the listeners have been to, probably a lot of them are from New England, but if you haven't been up to New England area in the fall, I mean, it's just a gorgeous time of year, right? You got the leaves, the colors. It's a fantastic time to be outside. So we offer kind of an outdoor pursuits program, which is just more or less just enjoying the outdoors. We have a pickleball option, which is kind of more
It's
just
a booming sport right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're real trendsetters.
Nice.
In the winter, cross country skiing. I mean, behind campus we have trails. That are we're blessed to be where we are. We're on a huge patch of land, and when these kids are in these trails behind and around campus, it's still our property, and they're really well maintained. And then moving into the spring, fishing club is one of the most popular things for kids to choose here, right? Like when the season opens, we're down at the rivers or the various the ponds and stuff
That's
around
awesome.
here, and yeah, it's a little friendly competition between the fishermen of the group, but a lot
So
of fun.
bring your fishing rod and tackle box to Stansted.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Patrick, we'll take a little bit of break. We'll come back and continue our conversation right after this.
Wonderful.
Do you have any questions or guests that you'd like to see on an upcoming Why Boarding School podcast? You can contact us directly through our website at whyboardingschool.com. Now, back to our show.
So I'm joined by Patrick Fraser, Director of Admissions at Stanstead College in Stanstead, Quebec. And my name is Jeff Quebec. And Patrick, continuing our conversation, I'm kind of curious, what's a typical school day like for a student at Stanstead? Sort of from the moment they wake up till they go to bed?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the school day starts at 8:30. Now, the kids can, we've got our boys and girls that wake up at 5:30 and do their gym session, and we've got the kids that kind of roll out of bed at 7:30 and make it all work. But in the morning, they have to do three things, right? They got to go check in at breakfast. They got to get their uniform on, and they got to tidy their room. During the first period of the day, the teacher on duty is going to do a quick room inspection and make sure everything is tip top. So when the school day begins, we do two classes. We take a recess break. We, a couple days a week, that's where we have an all school assembly. Two more classes, lunch, two classes, end of the day. At 3:30, when the school day is over, the kids go back to their dorm. They can get into their sports stuff, and they're going off to their sport at that time. Athletic time typically goes until, between 5:30, 6:30, but around that time is when they can also kind of file in and have their supper. Study period during the week, Sunday night through Thursday goes from 7:30 to 9:30, and then it's a little bit of wrap up and get ready for bed. So it's a pretty structured day, Monday through Friday. We do not have Saturday classes, so Saturday and Sunday are typically open. On Monday in our assembly, the weekend activities coordinator kind of will come up and announce what is going on that particular weekend. There's always a chance to get off campus, college visit, mall trip, dinner, movie night, ski trip, whatever it might be. And there's always activities going on campus as well. Like I said at the beginning, like it's an 80% boarding school, so it's a seven-day program.
Well, that's nice
Um,
with the students finding out at the beginning of the week, because then it gives them time to sort of plan what they want to do for
well,
activities on the
exactly
weekends.
right, and they it's optional, right? I mean, if they want to go, they can sign up and go. They know where to do that. If they want to take, if they want to sleep in and catch up on their homework, or
Sure.
take a personal day, they can do that as well. And even even our day students, because we're in a rural area and because they're so few in number, like we open it up to them on weekends too. So their social life is here rather
That's great.
than
That's
the
great.
opposite effect where you might have a school where, I don't know, I mean, the day kids are really living their own lives on the outside. Like, we incorporate them here, so it's a really active place 7 days a week. But that's more or less what a typical day looks like, with a few small variations in between. But that's
So
like
it
most
sounds like you
schools.
have activities in the weekend on campus and off campus.
Yeah, there's typically options for both. And again,
Yeah.
if you're playing a varsity sport, there's a ski trip going off, but you got a basketball game. Well,
Understandable.
yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier about as far as waking up and checking in for breakfast. So what are the meals like at Stanstead? Are they required, or are they buffet? Are they sit down? What's the
Yeah,
format?
that's a great question. So obviously, like, again, most boarding schools, like, they're going to do this all a little bit differently. Our students will basically dinner and or breakfast and supper. There's kind of an hour and a half window when the kids can kind of go in, and they do have to sign in on their the school app, which is kind of like a. I think most schools are probably using this program now, where it's their whereabouts and the checkpoints are
Sure.
all
Gives them
through
accountability where all the students are
digital,
throughout the
right?
day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the morning, they kind of file in. They can sit with their friends. It's kind of buffet style. But we do have sit down lunches a couple days a week. Right now, those are on Fridays and Mondays and Fridays. At these lunches, a teacher will be at the head of the table, and the students will sit in assigned seats. So we will mix this up. We'll be older kids, younger kids, international kids, Canadians, Americans, boys, girls,
And
and
Patrick, and
this.
that's on a rotation?
Yeah, and then the tables will shuffle up and rotate once a
Oh,
month
that's
or
great.
so,
That's
and
great.
this is just a way to we're a small community. It's one of our community building measures where there may not be a lot of opportunities for that girl in grade 11 to get to know this boy in grade 8. But if they sit at the same table, then they're gonna know who they are when they see each other walking by and know the first name, right? Um, and it makes it so the kids don't just cluster together with that same group of people, sit at the same table, and eat with the same people every day.
Sure,
They do
definitely
that.
it breaks down some of those cliques, right? That often
Yeah, and
students are
and
used
then
to from
for
their schools they came from.
yeah, and then for there's we'll do a term. Each term we'll do an academic assembly. We'll do an athletic assembly, and these will be also kind of formal sit down style meals. So it does mix up from day to day and time to time, event to event.
Nice. How about dormitory life, Patrick? What's dormitory life at Stanstead College?
Well, the dorms are really the heart of it, right? We're blessed. We've built two brand new facilities in the last 5 years. So we have a total of five dorms on the campus now. The way that they're structured is we've got a junior boys dorm, so grade 7, 8, 9 boys. We've got a junior girls dorm, grade 7, 8, 9 girls. We've got a grade 10, 11 boys dorm, 10, 11 girls. The grade 12 dorm is actually a co-ed dorm. So it's got a boys wing, a girls wing, the shared spaces, the lounge, the kitchenettes, the TOD, teacher on duty office. These are all shared places in there. Um, each dorm has at least three, sometimes four live-in house directors, right? So there's always an adult present. That's 24 hours a day. The kids would know where to go in case there was an issue. And every dorm except the junior boys is two per room. So the junior boys dorm, the rooms are a little bigger. They're usually three per room, but every other dorm is two per room. and we do. I mean, if a kid comes in grade 8, two kids are rooming together in grade 8, and then they want to continue on as roommates in grade 9, grade 10, perfect. For new kids, we're going to do our best to get to know them on the way in and try to match up with a good character match. And
Well, that's
obviously,
nice. I mean, obviously,
yeah,
because part of that experience is learning to live with other members in the community.
yeah, of course, and we always want to structure it so we'll put an international kid with a Canadian or an American border if just depending on where they're at, like maybe if they're grade 8 and they're still the English is still coming along, right? That's really important for these parents, and the
Absolutely.
domestic borders can take on a bit of a mentorship role there in that case. Um, but we'll look at things like the house directors will kind of survey and be like, well, what kind of music do you listen to, or are you an absolute neat freak, or do you mind a little bit of a mess at the end of the day, or these kind of questions, right? And try to make matches accordingly. But I was a house director for 2 years, and my wife ran the girls' dorm here for 5. So like, I mean, I've seen it all, and we try to work out issues. Sometimes they don't work out, and you make a quiet switch on the first break if it's really not a good fit. But it's pretty rare, and yeah, a lot of kids. It's a very important part of boarding school is learning how to share that space and be respectful of a roommate who might often not be from the exact same background as you are.
Yeah, very nice. So let me ask this, Patrick. Is there an advisor system at Stanstead? Sort of who's guiding the students throughout their time there? Is it dormitory parents? Is it a separate person they have as an advisor?
We have a really robust advisor program.
Okay.
And what we do is we basically take the faculty, we take the student body, and we make even groups of 6, 7 kids. Typically, if a student comes in 8th grade or 9th grade or 10th grade, they're going to keep that advisor the whole duration of their stay here. For new students, again, we're going to try to make the best match we can based on who might have availability in their group. And what the advisor does is really, particularly for the new students, they're going to be really, really watchful over the first few weeks, making sure your son or daughter, whoever it might be, is adjusting well, is happy, is eating well, is knows the schedule, is doing okay. They're going to meet with them individually probably once a week, if not more, maybe daily, and as a group once a week. Advisor groups will do many things throughout the year. They'll do dinners or intergroup competitions, stuff like that. And really, for parents, the advisor is the first point of contact when maybe their son or daughter phones home and mom's like, something just doesn't sound right today. Call the advisor, send them a note. Sure, I'll check in with them and see what's going on there. It's a really good system, and I think it's pretty common across the boarding school landscape. I know, especially with the junior boarding schools, but some of the most memorable students that over the course of my 12 years in boarding schools have been my advisees, and just kids that I've really got to know over the course of 3, 4, 5 years that I'll be connected with forever.
That's nice. And I'm sure also
Yeah.
it's rewarding when the parents receive those phone calls hearing about the great success of their sons and daughters.
Yeah, exactly. The odd photo here or there, right? Here's the soccer game today, or here's the got a math award or a science award or a history award or something. It's a nice system, and of course, like the students there may be a point in time where they, of course, if they have a good relationship with the advisor, but maybe they are closer with their house director or a coach or a teacher, and that's okay too, right? But the advisor is typically someone who, because of the amount of time that they spend and the devoted time at the beginning of getting to know the student, the family, those relationships really do tend to progress and grow as time passes.
Well, you mentioned sort of the relationships that you've formed over the years as being
Yeah.
an advisor. And
Yeah.
having lived in the dormitory. But I imagine also too, I mean, these students, when they come back and they're alums, they talk about the relationships they form, whether it would be with, like you said, a coach, a teacher, and someone who maybe wasn't their advisor, but they still create those strong bonds.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Is there, what would you say is sort of, if there is a way to describe it, is there a typical Stanstead student? Like, how would you describe maybe a typical Stanstead student? Is there any
Yeah.
characteristics?
Yeah. I mean, this is a school where, okay, well, first and foremost, it's a university prep school, right? 100% of our kids are going off to post-secondary studies. And oftentimes they're going to the top universities in Canada, in the States, very, very competitive institutions. Now, I would say, though, that not every student that comes to Stanstead has to be a straight A, across the board, perfect test scores kind of kid. We will accept a student who, works hard to get that mid 70s grade, but has great, comments from their former teachers or former coaches. So for us, I mean, and we're in a rural spot. It's a small community. After 1 week, 2 week, no one's anonymous anymore. Everyone knows everyone. So it has to be a student that's kind of comfortable with the idea that you're never going to really be able to be a fly on the wall here. Like you're going to be challenged. You're going to be pushed.
So you're telling me there's no hiding in the back of the classroom?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's the average class size is like 12, 14 kids, right? But you're going to be challenged and you're going to be pushed and you're going to be encouraged to try new things and really grow and grow yourself and your personal skills, but at the same time also over the course of a few years put together like a really competitive, impressive, list of things you've done for college applications and whatnot. So the ideal Stanstead kid to kind of bring it back home is someone who's comfortable with that, with the idea of being in a tight-knit community. Someone that is going to maybe not necessarily have to be pushed or really goaded into trying new things, like someone that's going to be excited about doing this kind of thing. Again, you don't have to be a fantastic athlete, but you have to at least enjoy physical activity and hopefully the experiences and joys that come along with team sports, right? You have to be willing to have an open mind and get to know kids from all over the world, right? On a typical year, we've got kids from 25, 30 different countries. There's a good chance one of them might be your roommate or sitting beside them in class or your teammate. And as an American, this is the last thing I'll say, and the Americans that I've had come up to Stanstead have always been, they've really appreciated the fact that they can be quote unquote international students, but still be a few hours from home in a lot of cases. Like the opinions that are going to be shared in a political science class or a history class, like as an American, like it's not going to be the same way as it is in a typical grade 10 classroom in the States. It's going to be a little bit different. And they really like that idea of like, kind of being international, but having it, the conversation in English and being so close to home as well.
Well, with having that level of diversity in students all over the globe, what an awesome opportunity. I can imagine some of those discussions are quite powerful in the classroom. Different perspectives, right? From different backgrounds, different experiences the students have had growing up.
Yeah, I'm not in the classroom anymore, but I do find myself, I'm like walking down the hall sometimes, I might find myself like listening in on an interesting conversation in a class if I pass one. That's for sure.
I imagine even in the dining hall at the tables, right?
Yeah. James is actually a very good example. James, very well.
James Ryu.
Your course of time. Yeah. He teaches senior level comparative politics and history and he runs his classes, round table style. I often find myself kind of
that's great.
leaning in for a listen on my way past.
Yeah. Very nice. So Patrick, are there any, I'd say, cool traditions at Stanstead that might be unique from other schools, or perhaps maybe there's one tradition that you hope that always remains part of Stanstead College, just never goes away?
Hmm. Well, yeah. You know what? I think that, and again, a little bit of a roundabout way of going about this, but I've been here for 12 years now, and I've been a dorm parent. I've been a coach. I'm been in admissions the whole way through. But what comes up often when especially when I was coaching and on the road more with kids was the school uniform, and the fact that like pretty much everywhere we go, we're the best looking group of kids there. You know what I mean?
That's great.
We require our kids when they're going for a sporting event or going to a presentation to wear the number one uniform. It's really really sharp, and
So
when
number
you
one referring to like the formal dress.
yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
if you're interested, you can check out what it exactly looks like on the website. But they're really sharp. When you combine how the kids look with the general comportment of the kids when they're at a restaurant on the road or getting off a bus or cheering on the boys are cheering on the girls at a particular tournament. I think that the way that it looks really, it's hard to quantify, but I've got calls from a restaurant on the 401 between Toronto and Montreal where it's like, you know, Stanstead College, like that group of kids that came in and had a meal was like uh, really memorable in the sense that like they looked great, they acted great, and there's been times when it's been like we were at an event with some Montreal public schools or private schools, and you get a call a couple weeks later from a kid that's like, oh, I really like the look of the kids there, and the camaraderie that I saw, the way that they interacted with their coaches, with each other. Can I come for a tour? It
Yeah,
happens
that's
a
nice.
lot.
That
So
sounds like they're dressing for success.
yeah, and I think I don't know. You put me on the spot with the question, but that's
Yeah,
the
no
first thing
worries.
that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
came to mind,
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
good.
I,
That's
I
good.
think it's good because I know that some schools have kind of, I guess, gotten away from those traditions a little bit, and I'm not for right or wrong, whatever reason, right? I mean, that's fine, but we've really stuck to it, and I think it's something that it's grown on me over my time here.
Yeah, very nice. So, Patrick, is there anything about Stanstead College that we didn't discuss here today in this podcast that you'd like to mention?
Oh man, we covered a lot, didn't we? Um, well, we're as an admissions group, we're on the road quite a bit. Um,
Okay.
it's myself. There's four other members of my team that do a lot of outreach this time of year. I would say, if you are curious, obviously drop us a line, but
Yeah. So,
on our website.
if someone is interested, Patrick, how might they go about starting the admissions process? Should they first start by maybe going to your website or?
I think that's the place to start. Our Instagram is really really well done. I think you give us a
Okay.
follow on Instagram, YouTube channels, updated pretty regularly. You can go on and just see some. You want to check out. Okay, I'm a grade 10 boy. I want to see what my dorm will look like. You can search and find that. But yeah, I mean, we're a small school, and it's a very personable admissions team. So you're not going to get a chat bot or an auto reply. Like you send us a note, we're going to get back to you in 24 hours. We're going to invite you on a call. We have no problem with doing an informational interview or a conversation with student and parents prior to even starting an application or scheduling a visit. That's fine. It's pretty much laissez-faire, as we say in French, with regards to that. We're gonna go as the family kind of wants to go.
So, Patrick, when you mentioned being on the road, we're not only speaking about North America, but also overseas and abroad too, right? There's some
Yeah,
traveling
that's
going
right.
overseas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
nice.
One of my colleagues is over in Asia right now. I got back from Europe 2 weeks ago. I'm off to the Middle East next week. I'll be in the States in December. So keep an eye out for the on the travel calendar, and
Nice.
you might see us in your area.
And so, Patrick, what is the website for Stanstead College so people know?
Yeah, it's www.stansteadcollege.com. Stanstead is spelled Stanstead.
Awesome. So, stansteadcollege.com. Perfect. Well, this is great, Patrick. It's been great having a chance to chat with you today and learn, certainly more about Stanstead. And I know it's a beautiful school, and I definitely encourage people to connect with Patrick Fraser, the director of admissions at Stanstead College. And I think most importantly is to visit campus, right? To physically get on campus and to see all the strengths and the beauties of the school.
I think that's important for any family that's really starting this process and maybe at the outset doesn't know what they're looking for. I mean, educational consultants like Jeff are fantastic resources, but what'll happen at the end of the day is when you make a short list and you really need to commit as a family to investing that time to visit, I would say 5 or 6 campuses, and a challenge would be to visit 1 or 2 that you never even heard of prior to starting your research. When you get on campus and do these visits, go on these tours, meet the people, meet the students, things are going to come up that maybe you didn't even realize were important to you or your son or daughter at the beginning of the process. You're just going to see and be like, I really like that, or I really don't like that. And, it may mean missing a week of school, a week of work. It may mean some extra travel, but seeing campuses is so important. And then when you arrive at your destination in August or September of the year of entry, as much as possible about the place, and there is a little bit of familiarity. I don't think anyone can go into this process and think that no matter where they go, there aren't going to be the inevitable ups and downs, right? There's going to be good days. There's going to be tough days. You're a teenager. You're in a boarding environment for the first time. This is going to happen. But that's not to say you can't be as comfortable with the place that you choose, throughout the year to 18 months as you do that process going forward. And that's the ideal time, right? It's not a good idea in my experience, to have a bad final report card in May or June and be like, I'm going to go to boarding school and rush it. Take your time, visit schools, and use the resources that are out there.
Oh, this is great. Well, thank you very much, Patrick. And, certainly thank you for joining us today. And as we were able to learn more about Stanstead College, this has been outstanding.
It's great to see you again, Jeff. And thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
All right. Good stuff. That's Patrick Fraser, Director of Admissions at Stanstead College School.
Thank you for listening to the Why Boarding School podcast. We look forward to you joining us for our next episode. Please remember to subscribe to the Why Boarding School podcast and help us spread the word. Until next time.